Ladies, let me tell you something that might just flip the entire dating game on its head. The way to get a man addicted to you, and I mean really addicted, has nothing to do with playing games, changing your hair, or sending the perfect emoji at the perfect time. It starts with this: be the spark, not the fire. What does that mean? It means you don't have to burn bright 24/7 to keep his attention. You just need to light something in him, a curiosity, a desire to know you, not just have you. You see, most people show up in dating like a resume. Here's why I'm awesome, here's what I bring to the table, here are my hobbies, dreams, and goals, please approve me. No, you don't need to announce your value, you need to live it. Confidence isn't loud, it's quiet, grounded, and magnetic. It's ordering your drink the way you like it and not apologizing for it. It's being unapologetically passionate about your goals, that energy. He feels it, and it draws him in. Now, here's where the fun begins. Challenge him, but do it with warmth. Tease him, mess with him a little, not because you're trying to be difficult, but because that lightness creates connection. You're not afraid to poke a little fun. You're not walking on eggshells. You're saying, hey, I like you, but I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to enjoy you. Here's another secret: emotional contrast. Be the woman who can laugh with him on the couch 1 minute and have a deep, soulful conversation the next. That range, that's what hooks him, not because you're performing, but because you're multidimensional. Now listen, boundaries. Oh my God, boundaries. This is where the real magic happens. When a woman knows where her line is, and she's not afraid to walk away if someone crosses it. That's power, not drama. Not ultimatums, just quiet, graceful strength. That's what makes him respect you, not just desire you. And finally, this is big: don't just make him feel like a guest in your life. Make him feel like a hero. Let him contribute, let him protect, let him matter, not because you can't live without him, but because you choose to let him in. That's the key. Make him feel inspired around you. Make him feel alive. Make him feel like the best version of himself when he's with you. When it comes to creating a deep and lasting impact on someone, especially in romantic dynamics, the key isn't in being the loudest voice in the room or the most available person in his life. It's about becoming the spark. The spark is that subtle, intriguing energy that doesn't overwhelm, but instead pulls someone in. It's not a floodlight, it's candlelight, and that candlelight makes someone lean in closer to see more. Being the spark means you don't try to impress with everything you've got up front. You don't reveal every chapter of your story on the first few dates. You let him be curious. You give him just enough to feel connected, but you hold space for him to want more. You drop pieces of your personality like breadcrumbs, little clues that show who you are, but leave him wondering what else there is beneath the surface. That's where attraction starts, not with everything exposed, but with the desire to uncover. So many people rush in, eager to prove they're good enough or different from the rest. But that energy, that overexposure, it becomes overwhelming. It leaves no room for curiosity to grow, and curiosity is everything. It's what keeps a man up at night thinking about you. It's what makes him want to text you the next morning. It's what drives him to chase, to invest, to wonder, what's she doing right now? What makes her tick? What's really going on in that beautiful head of hers? Being the spark is also about emotional pacing. You don't go 0 to 100 in one date. You don't treat him like a boy. Friend, before he's even shown he deserves that place in your life, you keep your emotional energy contained, warm, but not gushing. You don't overshare just to feel close. You let closeness build naturally, bit by bit, through shared experience, trust, and effort. That pacing makes him feel like you're worth the time. It says, this woman has depth, and I'll have to earn the right to know all of her. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about being selective. It's about knowing your value so deeply that you don't feel the need to throw everything on the table to prove it. And ironically, when you hold that posture, that quiet confidence, that mystery, that restraint, that's what becomes addictive. Not because you're hiding anything, but because you understand that the most irresistible people are the ones who let others discover them over time, not all at once. Be the spark, not the fire. The fire burns fast and bright, it can consume and disappear. But the spark lingers, it ignites something deeper. And that's what makes a man not just want you, but need to know you, keep you, and stay with you. Real value doesn't need a spotlight, a speech, or a sales pitch. In fact, the most magnetic people are often the ones who let their presence do the talking. When you show value instead of announcing it, you create a quiet confidence that others can feel without you needing to explain it. And that energy is powerful. It draws people in not because you're trying to convince them of your worth, but because you're simply living it. So often, people fall into the trap of thinking they need to list their accomplishments, showcase their every achievement, or explain why they're a great partner. But here's the truth. Value that's stated out loud too often can start to feel like insecurity dressed up as confidence. When you tell someone over and over how loyal, independent, or successful you are, it can actually come across as seeking validation rather than owning your truth. Confidence isn't loud. It's in your tone, your eye contact, your boundaries, and your ability to stay grounded even when you're unsure. It's in how you treat others, not just the person you're dating. It's in the way you don't rush to fill silences with stories that prove how interesting you are. It's in how you really listen, and how you make the people around you feel heard and seen without turning everything back to yourself. That kind of presence can't be faked, and it doesn't need to be explained. Ambition is another piece that speaks louder through action. You don't need to say, "I'm driven." When it's clear you're waking up with purpose, setting goals, chasing passions, and building something meaningful. When a man sees you prioritizing your growth, showing discipline in your craft, or staying true to your path even when it's not easy, that's attractive. That's high. You behavior. You don't need to tell him you're focused. He can see it. He respects it because it shows you have a life, one that's full, rich, and already in motion. And then there's emotional intelligence, the subtle superpower that quietly separates you from the crowd. It shows up in how you respond instead of react, in how you handle conflict with grace, not chaos, in how you manage your emotions without making someone else responsible for them. When you demonstrate that you understand yourself, when you can express vulnerability without losing your power, that's when someone realizes this woman is on another level. The key is to let all of this shine through naturally without trying to prove it. Don't tell him who you are, be who you are, and let him experience the difference. People remember how you made them feel, not the bullet points of your resume. Hi, Val, you behavior is compelling because it's consistent, not performative. When you embody your worth instead of broadcasting it, the right person won't just see it, he'll respect it, admire it, and want to be part of your world. There's a unique kind of magic in being the person who can challenge someone not with coldness or detachment, but with warmth and connection. It's the ability to keep things light, playful, and fun, while still showing that you won't just agree with everything, that you have your own opinions, your own edge, and a little sass when it counts. Challenging with warmth is about striking that perfect balance between being someone who keeps a man on his toes and someone who also makes him feel safe to be himself. Playfulness is often underestimated in attraction, but the truth is it creates emotional electricity. When you tease him with a smirk, when you call him out with a wink, when you throw in a cheeky joke at just the right moment, you're building connection through contrast. You're saying, "I like you, but I'm not afraid to mess with you a little." That kind of dynamic creates chemistry. It makes him want to lean in, engage more, and invest emotionally because you're making things unpredictable in the best way. But here's the catch, it only works when it's delivered with warmth. Without it, teasing can come off as dismissive or defensive. The energy underneath the playfulness matters. If you're challenging from a place of insecurity, needing to prove you're better or smarter, it won't land well. But if you're doing it from a place of joy and connection, if your teasing is laced with genuine affection, it becomes irresistible. Warmth is what makes you approachable. It's in your smile, your laugh, your tone. It's in how you hold space for someone else to open up. When a man feels that you're kind, open-hearted, and emotionally safe, he naturally lets his guard down. Combine that with a sense of challenge, the feeling that you're not going to just nod along and say yes to everything, and you've created something rare, a space where he feels both excited and comfortable. It's also about not taking yourself too seriously. When you can laugh at a situation, laugh at yourself, and keep the mood light, it gives him permission to do the same. That shared laughter builds intimacy faster than almost anything else. And when he sees that you can tease him but also uplift him, that you can joke but also listen deeply, that's when he starts to feel addicted to your energy. Challenging with warmth isn't a tactic, it's a vibe. It's showing that you're self-assured enough to be playful and honest without needing to dominate or belittle. You don't just say what he wants to hear. You bring out the best in him through a mix of flirtation and emotional intelligence. You surprise him while also making him feel seen, and that combination, that's what makes someone unforgettable. It's what keeps him coming back, not because you're trying to impress him, but because being around you just feels good. People are drawn to emotional depth, not just depth in terms of how profound your thoughts are, but in the range of experiences they get when they're around you. That's what emotional contrast is all about, showing that you're not just one note. You're a full dynamic symphony, and that contrast is what keeps someone intrigued. It's what makes a man lean in and think, there's so much more to her than I thought. When you first meet someone, it's easy to lead with just one version of yourself. Maybe it's the fun, outgoing side, the flirty, witty, high-energy vibe that lights up a room. That's magnetic and important, but if that's all someone sees, they'll assume that's all there is. What keeps a connection alive is not just consistency, but the occasional surprise. The moment when the woman who's been teasing and laughing suddenly goes quiet and shares something honest and vulnerable. That shift from playful to real hits differently. It creates emotional intimacy because he realizes he's not just having fun with you, he's getting to know you. The same is true in reverse. If you only show your deep, reflective, serious side, it might create respect, but not always attraction. Emotional contrast isn't about being fake or switching personalities. It's about being comfortable enough to show your full range. You can be the woman who has wild dance parties in the kitchen and the woman who can sit in silence and just be present. You can be passionate and driven and soft and nurturing. You don't need to pick a lane. The more he sees different shades of you, the more curious he becomes about what's next. One minute you're making a sarcastic comment that catches him off guard. The next you're asking a question that makes him think about something he's never considered. You become the person who stimulates him emotionally on multiple levels: laughter, reflection, warmth, excitement. That's what people remember. That's what keeps someone emotionally invested. This doesn't mean you need to perform or manufacture these sides. It's more about giving yourself permission to let all the layers of your personality show. Don't dim your light to seem more serious. Don't mute your emotions to seem cooler. Let the moments happen naturally. Let your stories, your reactions, your energy shift based on what's real in the moment. Emotional contrast creates emotional richness, and richness is what elevates a connection from surface level to something he actually craves. He doesn't just enjoy being around you, he starts to feel something around you, something exciting, something grounding, something he can't quite explain but doesn't want to lose. That's the power of being multifaceted. That's what makes him think about you long after the conversation ends, not because you tried to impress him, but because you gave him something real and beautifully unpredictable. There's nothing more powerful or more attractive than a woman who knows her worth and isn't afraid to stand by it. Setting boundaries isn't about being cold, controlling, or creating distance. It's about creating clarity. It shows that you know who you are, what you value, and what kind of energy you allow into your life. When you set boundaries with grace, not only do you protect your peace, you command respect without even raising your voice. The key here is tone. You don't have to be aggressive or confrontational to let someone know what doesn't fly with you. In fact, the most effective boundaries are communicated with calmness and confidence. It's a simple, grounded energy that says, "This is who I am, this is what I expect, and I'm not afraid to walk away if those things aren't honored." Not in a threatening way, but in a way that says, "I love my life enough to protect it." A woman who sets boundaries like a queen isn't constantly drawing lines or issuing ultimatums. She doesn't operate from fear. She simply knows her standards. If a man flakes on a date, she doesn't spiral, overreact, or beg for a reason. She acknowledges it, addresses it with clarity, and watches how he responds. She's not afraid to say, "That didn't feel good to me," or "I don't do inconsistency." Because to her, keeping her self-respect is more important than keeping someone who doesn't show up fully. And here's the beautiful twist. Boundaries don't push the right men away. They attract them. A man who's worth your time will rise to the standard you set. He'll appreciate the clarity, the maturity, and the emotional self-awareness. Because most people are used to confusion. They're used to mixed signals, to blurred lines, to people who say one thing and tolerate another. When you show up with clean, graceful boundaries, you become a breath of fresh air. What makes it irresistible is how unbothered you are in your delivery. You don't need to justify, explain, or overtalk your boundaries. You simply hold them. You're kind but firm, open-hearted but not naive, and most importantly, you're consistent. You don't bend them for chemistry. You don't erase them when someone makes you laugh. You stay rooted. Because you know that any connection that requires you to abandon your standards is never worth the cost. And the truth is, boundaries don't close you off. They open up space for real intimacy. When a man knows where he stands, when he knows what behavior earns your trust and what loses it, he feels safe, safe to step up, safe to be real, safe to respect you, because you're not just another woman hoping to be chosen. You are a woman who chooses, and that energy, that's queen energy, that's what makes him addicted, not just to your beauty or your vibe, but to the way he feels when he's with someone who truly knows her worth. One of the most powerful ways to deepen attraction and build a meaningful connection is to make a man feel like a hero in your story, not because you're lost and need saving, but because you're already whole and you're choosing to let him in. There's a big difference between needing someone to complete your life and inviting someone to enhance it. The former feels heavy, the latter feels exciting, inspiring, and deeply rewarding. When a man feels like he matters in your world, he's more likely to show up fully. He's more invested, but the magic happens when that sense of significance doesn't come from obligation or pressure, it comes from choice. You've built a beautiful life on your own, and in the middle of it, you've carved out a space where he can contribute, not because you can't do things without him, but because you want to share it with him. That subtle shift in energy changes everything. It's in the small moments, when you ask for his opinion because you value how he sees things, when you let him take the lead sometimes, not because you couldn't, but because it feels good to co-create. When you celebrate his wins just as much as your own and genuinely appreciate the way he shows up, you're saying, "I see you, what you do, who you are. It matters here." That doesn't just stroke his ego, It speaks to something deeper. His sense of purpose, his masculine identity, his desire to contribute to something meaningful, but the key is, you're still the author of your story, you haven't handed him the pen, you're not waiting to be rescued, and you're not molding your life around him. You've got your passions, your plans, your priorities, you're grounded, independent, radiant, and that's what makes your invitation so powerful, because when he steps into your world, he's not taking over, he's joining forces. He gets to be a part of something already amazing that feels like an honor, not a task. Letting him feel like a hero doesn't mean being helpless or playing small. It's about recognizing his strengths, letting him give in ways that feel meaningful to him, and making space for that contribution without sacrificing your power. It's letting him open the jar, plan the date, give advice, hold you when you're vulnerable, not because you're incapable, but because intimacy is about mutual giving. When you let him rise for you, when you let him matter, he feels more than just wanted. He feels needed in a way that's rooted in respect, not dependence. And the most beautiful part, when you make a man feel like a hero in your life, it's not about boosting his ego, it's about building a bond. A partnership where he feels chosen, respected, and inspired. That energy sticks with him. It lingers in his mind long after you're gone, because you weren't looking for someone to save you. You were already winning. He just got the rare gift of playing a meaningful role in your victory, and that is what keeps him coming back. Do that, and he won't just want to stay, he won't be able to imagine life without you.